Good morning, everyone. I really appreciate your time today. My name is Richmond Ang. I am the co-founder and CTO of Neposmart. And today I'm just going to walk you through a live demo of our technology and how we address two major problems that we find with video surveillance and access control. The first being, if we look at traditional security cameras, they're essentially our second set of eyes. And they're often just passive monitoring objects, just very underutilized. And so you might be thinking, well, in this instance, then we can move it to an IoT home automation type of system where you have hubs and different devices you can control. But that kind of brings me to the second problem. And that second problem is that these types of IoT systems are just getting too fragmented, too complex, and there's just too many things that can go wrong, too many points of failure. To illustrate this problem, let me compare this situation to our human body. So if we imagine our bodies were designed the exact same way that traditional IoT systems are designed right now, then you can imagine what could possibly go wrong. So let's take an instance like driving, for example. So if I represent the eyes, I'm the camera. And let's take Jeannie, for example. Jeannie, you represent the brain or the hub, the vehicle that makes the decisions. And Olivier, you represent the devices, the different types of things that you can attach and control. So if we think about driving, let's say now we're approaching a red light. The first thing that we need to do is, me as the eyes or the camera, I will process that red light, which then I would have to communicate that to Jeannie to tell Jeannie that there is a red light, you need to be able to do something. Jeannie gets that information, responds, and makes a decision to say, okay, I need to press the brake. And in essence, Jeannie will then tell Olivier, who are the arms and the legs, to say, press the brake. Now, if we take that instance, do you see the problem? You see how if we have to communicate like that every single time with a simple task like driving, that there are so many things that can go wrong. Information travels very slowly, and there's points of failures that can break down. So that brings us to what our solution is. Neposmart is a patented technology that brings all of this together. So our patented technology enables the camera to directly control any type of object, such as an alarm, a siren, a door lock, garage door, basically anything that has a switch without the need for adding any additional hubs or any centralized server. So just like a human body, everything exists within one and operates as efficiently as possible. Now, to show you exactly how this works is I'm going to walk you through the functionalities and go through different scenarios of how this works. In front of you on the screen, I have the screen recording of both my iPhone and my Android on the left and the right. So what I'm going to do is, just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to minimize the Android and just show you the iPhone for now, and we'll get to the Android after. First, it all starts with the mobile app. So the first thing that you see when you launch our app is a list of devices. Now, these are all cameras. I can have an unlimited amount of cameras on this list, and they can also be from anywhere around the world. As you could see, you have a bunch of these icons on the right here. It looks like a siren, a door lock, a garage door, a light. And these represent all the different types of objects that you can control that are connected to the camera, which I'll show you. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, let's pull up 9 cameras from my list, and I'm going to project it. And these are all live right now. What I'll do is, just to show you, I can either pan and tilt. I'm just moving different positions. I can swipe the screen, and you'll see each of those different cameras moving respectively. Now, these cameras, I have the top 3 cameras here are in the office here. The camera on the left, you'll see that's a construction site. These 2 are of my garage door outside of my home. And this on the bottom left-hand side, you notice that this is black and white because this is actually in the Philippines, live right now. It is 3:42 a.m. It is pitch black, and this is night vision. And as you can see, it's live as I'm moving it. So this just shows that you can have different types of cameras from any type of area around the world. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to show you the picture of the garage, because remember I talked about actions, being able to control something from the camera. This camera is connected directly to my garage door, and this can be any type of brand. It doesn't have to be specific to a particular model. And what I can do now that the camera is connected, when I press the top left button, that is going to open my garage door live, and you can see it opening as I'm doing it. I'll be able to receive notifications to tell me that my garage door is open, a push notification, as you saw down the bottom, that it's open. I can have it set to if I've left it open for a specific amount of time, then I can do that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close that and exit out of it. And I want to note that garage doors is not the only thing that you can control. If I go back to the main screen, remember earlier when I talked about the different icons that you can control, such as a siren and the lock, the garage door is not the only thing that you can connect. So again, any type of object that you would want to control, you could do. So if I have a lock, I can easily control that. If I want to sound the siren, I'm going to do that. You can hear that. I'm going to turn that off, not to piss off the neighbors too much. But as you can see, you can control different types of objects connected directly to the camera. Let's talk about how we give an eye and a brain to sensors. What I want to bring up on my phone is this is actually a picture of a parking lot of a data center facility. Now, the first thing to just note is you can ignore the red lines. That they were actually photoshopped just to show where the infrared beams are, since the infrared beams are actually invisible to the naked eye. So they explored two solutions. And those two solutions were either one, creating a physical barrier and constructing a physical fence, but they found that just to be too expensive. So number two was to put cameras with motion detection. Now, motion detection comes pretty much standard in your typical security camera, but the problem with motion detection, especially when it's pointing outside, is that there are so many environmental factors and so much movement that it is very difficult for a camera to be able to pick up what is a relevant and non-relevant alert. If you see a lot of customer reviews for many products, the big complaint is too many false positives and too many false negatives. So even with the types of situations where I can adjust sensitivity, adjust activity zones and things like that, it is still very difficult to decipher that if a squirrel runs by across the road, or if it just suddenly rains very hard. There's still those things that can trigger it. So how did they fix this? They turned to us to look at perimeter security. So the way that we do it is now they set up perimeter security around the access that they want to protect, and it's connected directly to the camera so that anytime anyone crosses it, it will trigger the camera to do a variety of things. It will be able to send many types of notifications, such as push, email, MMS, or you can have it trigger a recording. Or basically program it so that way everything is targeted. Just to give you an example of the different types of notifications, this is my driveway, and so I have perimeter beams that are set on the driveway because that's the entry point. And so when the USPS driver breaches those beams, it sends me a push notification, but it also sends me an email alert with a picture attachment. So I know exactly at what time someone breached it and crossed it, and I have an archive of that image just in case I need to use it for any type of reason later. Now, if they cross, then again, when they reach the porch, we have another set of beams, and that is the same USPS person that is dropping off a package. So that way now I know at that time I have a package that is in the porch. So when I talk about beams, I don't want you to think that it's limited to just perimeter beams. If you imagine there are a variety of different sensors out there, door sensors, window sensors, PIR, motion detections, things like that. Our technology allows you to be able to connect any type of sensor to the camera so that now you're giving those eyes and that intelligence to the camera itself. the thing that I want to address as well is when we think about security monitoring, a lot of companies are focused on protecting the premises. So you'll see a lot of areas, a lot of businesses, even homes, where they'll have door sensors, window sensors that are around their premises that are attached to an alarm panel or some sort of a notification system. What we like to do is we focus on primarily how do we augment and how do we improve traditional security systems. And the way that we do that is when I showed you with the perimeter beams, is now by focusing on the outskirts of the perimeter. Because in a traditional setting, if someone breaks into my home or breaks into my premises and these door sensors, these window sensors, or the alarm triggers, it's too late. They're already inside. Exactly. They're already inside the premises. So why not bring that out and identify the vulnerable entry points of the premises so that anytime someone even steps foot onto it, I'll already have that notification. I'll be aware of who is even snooping around my property so that it will give me more of a chance to be able to take action. An example that I want to show you is how we now bring in sensors into a traditional alarm system. So a camera that I want to bring up on my phone, again, this is live. The thing that I want to actually focus the attention on is this alarm panel right here. This is your typical Honeywell alarm panel. And what happens is the camera is now directly connected to the alarm panel. So if I wanted to, now the same way that I triggered the garage door, triggered the siren, I can activate the alarm panel. You can hear that the alarm panel is actually triggered by the phone. So what I'll do is I'll just turn that off. So now that that's off. Or if I connect sensors or perimeter sensors that you saw earlier with that, then now I can have it programmed to where if someone triggers the perimeter sensor or if someone triggers the beam, then I can have that activate the alarm panel. So in essence, what I'm doing is now I'm giving intelligence to that alarm panel and something that I will be able to easily control directly from my phone. Just to give you a quick example, this is just one of the settings where I can set a schedule. So let's say if someone crosses the perimeter beam, maybe I don't want it to activate the alarm panel all the time. Maybe I just wanted to set it to a specific time. So if someone breaches my premises between 1 a.m. to, let's say, 4 a.m., then activate the alarm panel. Otherwise, anytime other than that, ignore it or send me other types of things like the push notifications, but don't activate the alarm panel. So that's where we can really integrate into existing systems and really improve and add layers of security that may have not been there in the first place. Being able to integrate the perimeter security or different types of sensors to the camera, you'll be able to get different types of notifications, whether it's the email alerts, the MMS notifications, or trigger the camera to start recording something. Okay. So just to give you one instance, we have one of our cameras that is in the reception right now, and I'm just opening up that. And that's a live view of the reception. Okay. And what we actually have is we have perimeter beams that span across our office that is on the left there. So if I want to pull up any time that, say, a recording of anyone that has entered our building, is if I go to the recorded videos, what I could do is I could either have the scheduled recording or I could find
but you've got the whole list.
A detection. I have a whole list. So in this instance, this was actually yourself and this was Olivier that came in and it actually has that recording.
Okay.
So now I'm able to target any time that the perimeter or the premises, someone has walked into the premises based on these timestamps. And again, these recordings, there are a variety of ways from a camera functionality perspective of being able to save recordings. One way is the onboard storage of the camera that I could view even halfway around the world if I wanted to. I can also save it to an FTP server, Dropbox, Amazon Drive, even to a PC, you name it. What we want to do is provide many different avenues and many different options for you to be able to save that depending on your needs, so then you will be able to access all of that footage everywhere and access the relevant information and really be able to customize that.
Okay. Do you have to have internet in order to be able to have this work? And the reason I'm saying this is that we have a warehouse where we don't have cable internet, and the internet provider won't install it. So what I'm wondering is, how do we use this?
So let me ask you, is there cellular access, or do you have cell phone?
Yeah.
So in that instance, then what you could do is we don't need broadband internet per se, but you can actually connect our systems to a 4G hotspot.
Okay.
So if that's why I was asking if you have cellular, then you'd be able to add that, because the technology, the way that we design our products is where you can connect it directly to a 4G hotspot, and it will only use the data anytime that you are viewing the video.
Okay.
And whenever you're not viewing it, then it won't use the data. So that way you're not going to just use up your data allowance just in a couple of days. Yeah. So to give you an example how this is used, there is a very popular pro football team that we are working with right now that they actually need security when they travel to their away games. So the way that they have their security is anytime that they go to their away games, they have to go into the hotel and lock down specific hotel floors, and then station the security outside and be able to monitor any activity after a certain time that they're not allowed to have people in or out.
Right.
And so the way that they set theirs up is they travel without cameras, they travel with a 4G hotspot, so then when they go to that location, they turn it on, turn on the cameras, there you go. They could view it, and then when they're done, they could leave, not have to mess with any hotel Wi-Fi or anything like that. So that's the power of our system, being able to have it where you can travel on the go, have it anywhere, anytime, and then move to the next location and have it set up.
Still have it. Okay,
exactly.
Great.
Now that you have seen how we're integrating sensors to the camera, let's take that one more step. Let's add intelligence and facial recognition to that. So what I have set up is I'll pull up the application where the camera that has the facial recognition. If I could just borrow a volunteer, Jeannie, if you don't mind. What we're going to do, just to illustrate how we marry everything together, is if we walk over here, the first thing that we have set up is I have perimeter beams that are connected directly to the camera that runs facial recognition, which is up here.
Okay.
And it is connected to a door lock. So what happens is when it recognizes a face, an authorized face, it will automatically unlock the lock, which you'll hear a beep. So if we want to stand here and then just look at the camera, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to breach the beam.
Okay.
And that will trigger the camera to run the facial recognition.
Richmond Ang authorized and one unknown person detected.
So, as you can see here, what it's shown.
And it has it. It says female. Oh, it even says I'm happy.
Exactly. So it authorized myself because it was I'm in the database. Jeannie, you're not in the database, so it noticed that there was an unknown person. And what it also is giving is the technology is able to detect certain things such as gender, estimated emotion, and even age range. So in cases where you would want to record things like demographics for retail or those types of situations, then now you have that data that you'll be able to aggregate. But you notice, I wanted to again point out to the fact that the door lock opens. It's all about marrying everything together, but having something where you're able to actually take action. So it's not enough to just have the facial recognition. We always want to be able to take that one step further. Exactly. Now that we have that data, it's okay. So what? What should we do? What kind of an action can we trigger? The door lock again is not the only thing that you could do. I could have it do the opposite. So let's say if it finds an unknown person triggered, then I want it to activate a siren. I want it to send me a notification. I want it to do something that will deter that. So in one instance where we're actually using this technology, we've partnered with a construction company down in LA.
Okay.
And what they have been doing before we came into the picture was tracking authorized and unauthorized workers from entering and leaving the particular construction site. And the way that they do that is through RFID tags on their helmet. So anytime a worker approaches the gate, the RFID scanner will scan their tag, and if they are authorized, then it will unlock this magnetic gate and let them through. If they're not, obviously it won't. But the problems that they've been having, there are two major problems that they've been having with this is, number one, tailgating. And so anytime that even if you have an approved person, someone can follow right behind and they'll still be let
sneak
through.
in. Okay.
Exactly, and you won't be able to know. And number two,
What if it's not their helmet? Or either they left their helmet at home or somebody else has their helmet?
there you go, you got it. My job's done. So yeah, exactly right. Basically, without the visual verification, visual notification, you're not going to know if they actually own that RFID tags. And that's been a huge problem, and especially liability in the construction industry is a major thing. I mean, you could even think about other companies as well, all these access control systems, that this is a problem that you will need to be able to fix that. So how do we fix that solution? How did we go in and augment that solution? So again, the idea is to be able to integrate our technology without compromising how their existing system works.
Right.
So now how we do it is in the construction site, number one, there's no broadband Wi-Fi internet.
Okay.
So what we actually have to do is we integrate our cameras, and now they're connected to a 4G LTE hotspot.
Oh,
Because our technology is optimized to the point where you're able to do that without having to kill your mobile data.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is every time the RFID scanner scans, it will contact our cameras to run
Robert Samuels
facial recognition.
authorized.
Okay.
And so it will run facial recognition of that employee and match to see whether that person is in fact in the database for one, and it's matched to the RFID scan. And if it is a match, then it will automatically unlock the magnetic gate.
Okay.
If it doesn't match, then it will actually send an error report to the administrators to let them know that someone in fact
Wants to go in, and can you set it up so that the construction company can say, okay, even if they're not recognized, let them in, or if they aren't recognized, okay, you can let them in, but you have to send me a report, or just don't let them in?
Yes. So you can have all of that is programmable.
Okay.
So all of that is depending on the type of situation. So in their instance, they don't want to disrupt the flow of workers entering and leaving. So what they just want to know is if it is authorized, and still unlock the gate. But if it's not, then we'll still let them through. But we will alert all the administrators that there is in fact an unauthorized
That's
person
what
on
they
the job
want.
site.
Okay.
Exactly, and then they can deal with that accordingly.
Okay.
But yes, you can program to say I don't want it. Anytime that there's an unauthorized person, I don't want it to let them through. And that's the power of the system, the flexibility to be able to really customize that to how they want to do that. The last thing that I want to talk about is another patent that we have, and that is camera-to-camera communication. The ability for cameras to be able to talk to each other and send another camera a command based on a trigger. So for lack of better words, it's essentially a global mesh network, because you can instruct cameras to activate certain objects regardless of location. So you can have camera 1 here in Bellevue, Washington, to activate a camera in Paris and tell it to do something based on an event.
Okay.
So let me show you exactly what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch it up. I've been using iPhone, so let me use Android, just to give a little bit of variety. And what I'm going to do is when I go into the settings, what I want to program is, let me actually bring up the camera. So what we have is we have a camera that is connected to the entry of our door. And so what I wanted to do is anytime that door opens, I wanted to do several things. And that is, number one, another camera that we have in the hallway, I want it to activate just a siren and also move it to position 8, position 1. So move it to a different position.
Okay. Siren, or is it beep?
Yeah, so it's going to be
Just
a
some sort of
beep just to
sound
show
to just let you know
exactly.
that it's-
So it's when the door opens,
Okay.
then I want it to talk to another camera and trigger that.
Okay.
I can have it talk to multiple cameras. So in this instance, what I want to do to show you that you can have it in a different location is, again, when that door opens, I want it to also actually move the camera that is in my home to a different position. It's actually going to show whether I have a package or not. And then just for kicks, I will add another camera. I want it to, when the door opens, I wanted to activate the alarm panel camera that I showed earlier. So let me just save this. So now that I have saved those settings, let's see how this works in action. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up the cameras that I programmed. So
Okay.
again, the bottom right is, you'll see, if Olivia, if you don't mind, if you could just open the door just to show the triggers. So what happens is Olivia is about to go in and open the door of that camera. Now that he's opened that, what happens is that activates, so you heard the beep, and you hear the Honeywell alarm panel triggering, and then also, let me turn that off. So you saw, this is not me doing anything. So you saw that Olivier opened the door. It triggered the beep the hallway camera of this camera. It triggered the Honeywell alarm panel of this that I just turned off. And then you saw that the porch moved positions. So where does this camera communication come into essence? So it becomes useful if let's say you have satellite offices or different warehouses. So if you have one camera, it might not be on the same network. If it triggers, if a perimeter is breached or someone steps onto the premises, then maybe I want it to contact a different camera that's in another location, or that has maybe a siren that's attached to it, to alert everyone in that area that someone has actually entered the facility. And that's in addition to push notifications, things like that. Maybe I don't have my phone on me. Maybe I don't. And so it's just to increase that awareness. Or another reason would be if I want to take recordings of different angles. When it gets breached, when the door is open, when a perimeter, if someone steps onto the premises, then I can instruct it to move. So then now I have recordings of different angles based on those trigger events. Okay. So again, the options are endless. It's just the versatility, the power of the technology of really being able to customize the cameras and command it in any ways that you want.
And there's an application in school for lockdown, for instance, where one camera, where there's a sensor detecting an intruder with a weapon, suddenly you can lock down the whole school.
Exactly. That's a great point. So again, that just shows it. Yeah, if there is a detection. Because you saw how it is. So all the cameras, they're not going to be, maybe not on the same network. So then you can command it, lock down all of the facilities. So again, it's just the power of that technology is there's so many different types of applications that you could use, and it's just really up to you to figure out exactly how you want to fit that in. Okay. So, great. What have you seen today? So the things that I just wanted to mention is again the ability to bring IoT into security cameras. So for security cameras to have the ability to be able to control objects. And that is the power of our patent, to where you don't have to keep adding different devices. You don't have to have an additional centralized server. You don't have to keep adding hubs. You can control it directly, just like we function as humans. Everything is in one. Number two is being able to bring intelligence to sensors, giving sensors an eye and visual context so that you know exactly what's going on when things are triggered, and being able to control the cameras as is when the sensors are triggered. Okay. Number three is augmenting different types of systems. So even if you have a traditional system, we don't think about things as just a rip and replace. Maybe you have legacy systems there. Maybe you have alarm systems or things that are in place. The idea is, how can we improve security and how can we augment these systems to add things that are otherwise missing so that we could really have an effective security solution. In instance like bringing facial recognition to an existing system and giving that intelligence and being able to take action. The camera-to-camera communication that I just mentioned, of being able to have these cameras now communicate with each other and really connect everything together regardless of location. And that is just what I wanted to show you of what our patented technology can do and how we're able to address these problems of video surveillance and really bring everything to that next level. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you.